Tribeca Trade Group, and this is your market recap for Monday, the 26th. What a day for the cryptos! What a day for the biotechs as well. Really, really strong moves coming from that group. And fast moves too. So if you participated in some of these groups, if you've been watching some of my recent videos and watching some of the content that we put out on Substack, I think I had I like to include, and I send multiple notes out during the day, and I think my end of day note, what I basically do is put like one or two charts that I think are the most interesting of the day. And I think I actually featured biotech twice on one day because I just thought it was that interesting. And that's something that I've been long now, so, since the beginning of this year, I've been talking about how that chart was shaping up. So it's just nice to to put in that type of put in that type of work and effort and really see some of these trades work too. Bitcoin as well. We saw really tight consolidation last week. I put on a Bitcoin trade last week. Also had some exposure like indirectly with Robinhood, which I thought also was a really nice looking setup. And those things really turned out pretty well. So before I get into any of those, risk disclaimer in front of you, everything that we're going through is for information purposes only. Please read the full risk disclaimer right there. So let's get to a couple of the charts. But before I do, a couple things that stood out to me in terms of the macro. Let's see, I have to correct this a bit, but TLT bounced back a little bit. It was down about 0.6 of a percentage point. So if you remember, on Friday, bonds had a really nice rally day. They were up. TLT was up around like 1.2%. So gave back a little bit of that. I don't think that that's that bad, considering there's a lot of supply that's coming back on the market in the form of bond auctions. We had two bond auctions today. I think it was a 2-year and a 5-year, and we're going to get more of them throughout the week. And the dollar, where did the dollar finish for the day? The dollar finished just down slightly, down 0.1%. So, again, the continues to the dollar has been continuing to fade over the last couple of weeks. Remember, about 2-3 weeks ago, we saw some strength in the dollar, but that has basically gone away and has been bleeding out. I thought what was interesting was the second day in a row we've seen not the small caps too, but the micro caps up 1%. So even more so on the spectrum of your small micro caps. And what is that telling you right now about what yields are doing, right? Yields kind of go sideways a little bit for a couple days, and these things want to rally. So it's pretty interesting to me. Yes, blockchain, I have what I refer to as the crypto ETF, which has in it Mara, Coinbase, MSTR, right? And I think Robinhood is in there too, Riot Blockchain, right? ClearSpark, which had a huge day today. So that ETF led today and was up 6.8%. Outside of that, there was still some momentum in very select areas of the market. Software was up 1% for the day, which surprised me because I thought that group was pretty weak last week. So it came back, and you're going to have a lot of reports this week in that software and cyber group, which cyber also did pretty well for the day. Very interesting. Nancy Pelosi added again, buying calls like like a Robinhood trader, but obviously bigger size. Pretty amazing to me, buying Palo Alto probably on the dip, but regardless, kind of interesting to see. That's a pretty high conviction trade, similar to what we saw in Nvidia at the end of 2023. So very interesting to see. It is what it is. We can get angry or we could profit in regards to they have information and we don't. And and they can trade on insider information. We can, right? So very interesting to see. And I believe too, I don't think that cyber trade is done. And I was out there last week buying the dip in CrowdStrike, which was one of my best trades last week. And I bought a little bit of CyberArk today too. I like that chart as well. Also was looking at VRNS. So that said, let me get to a couple of these charts. We'll start with the big guy here, Bitcoin. You could see I've got some arrows in here. This is actually, I like how TradingView lets you put out trade ideas, and this is a trade idea I put out last week, and I just liked how this was. Let me zoom in here a little bit for you so that you can see. But I like this move, this rip higher, and like all it did was just very, very tight consolidation. So I threw on a trade last week using the IBIT ETF, right, which is the ETF, one of the ETFs now that tracks Bitcoin, rather than mess with the futures, which is what I'm looking at here. But you know, and here's where this next move up, which it's nice that the market webs do this for you. They give you the percentage up, you know, of where there's the next resistance, or in this case, virgin point of control, where there was a lot of volume previously, where we have not revisited. So that's my ultimate price target, is about 10.8% further, but I like to see that first move, and a real nice first move. So we could go through some of these charts, but I think the one that stole the show today was make sure I've got stocks up here, right? Was this Clean Spark? What a what a move in this thing today. And all of the, you know, the whole group, but this one took out the highs. What I always look for is when you've got this, you know, consolidation back into, let's say, the 5 or the 20-day moving average, and you pop, you know, which names got above the previous highs. And I think this one was the most interesting of the bunch. Here's Mara, which again had a lovely day today. Up is that 21%, just huge, right? Some of these names did today. MSTR also like right around those previous highs. Note that there was a VPOC over there. Coinbase, which I know a lot of people trade that one, also kind of stalled out a little bit there at those previous highs. But you know, these names may not be done, right? And the one that I've been involved in, so I've been playing both the underlying crypto, and also, you know, Robinhood had a real nice day. I mean, we noticed this back in January that the base just looked too good to be true. And look at the little check back, by the way, right? So this started to go at the end of the year, right? And a nice little neat check back right to support, and you know, is starting to kind of break higher here. I think my next target, if I use the 1-hour chart, right, you're going to find some of these virgin point of controls, right? This is another one that's another 6% up, right? So that's your first VPOC that's coming up here, and that's around 1658. So that's what I'm targeting. The next group that I've been positioning in this year is biotech, and a couple of these positions I have on in 2 portfolios, like XBI. So here's the daily chart in XBI, getting out. I mean, this was one of the biggest days I think so far of this year, or at least of this month. We had this big move back here in the beginning of the year. Again, took a little bit of patience, right? And that's what you have to have. And, you know, when you like a nice looking chart, and when you're either looking on the weekly chart, which I have been for XBI, you've got to have some patience. And I know that's not easy to do because there's so many other things that are going on. There's earnings reports, and, you know, big earnings reports going on. There's a lot of macro forces out there, but you know, really this just looked to me like it was a really good setup. And you know, so I took another target today in this. Just bring up, you can see by trades blotter. I was all about taking targets today. You know, it was kind of carrying a decent amount of swing trades. So, you know, in there, this ELF trade has been another one, unbelievable in terms of the move in some of these things, right? Look at the extension. You know, so today was up 7% today, right? And if we go back to last week, right, kind of saw this consolidation, and it looked like it was trying, right? And you know, there's a number of other names that are doing this too, that have not gone yet. But you see this consolidation, and then bang, you know, up and out, or out and up, right? So very nice there. And I took another profit target in my swing trade in ELF. You know, other trades, I tried some NXT today. This was a name that I tried a couple weeks ago. It's important to kind of, you know, have these names on your radar, and then if you trade them, I often will come back to them, right? And I ditched the rest of this trade today. So again, like sometimes I don't know if it's going to be a day trade or if it's going to be the start of a swing trade. It depends on how the stock performs. But I didn't like how it was kind of giving back gains in the middle of the day. So you can kind of see, you know, how I did this today. Took a target here, took another target in 60/40, and Let's see. And then I got out of the last portion of the trade for profits. Important to have trailing stops, right? So that you know when something is not acting as well. So where did this thing close? 59.55. So further down from where I sold it. So I'll watch this name. Again, it's if you forget about where it hit intraday, it did get above all those short-term moving averages. So I still think pretty positive. CPRT, right? Again, not probably on the top of a lot of people's lists, but just going through charts this weekend, I just noticed that this team had kind of a delayed strong earnings reaction. And what you're looking at here is the value area for the year, right? So not only did it kind of find support on the, this is the value area for the month of February. So that held that pretty decently. And now is breaking through its value area for the year. So I love when stocks do this personally, right? When you kind of, go up like this and you pause for a couple months and you take your next leg higher, right? Darvis talks about this in his book, right? And, if you notice a lot of the situations that we have for the market webs, right? Looking at value areas and so forth, right? It is a similar approach that Darvis used, except we're putting stats behind it, right? We're not just randomly drawing boxes, right? These are all based on volume at price. But I like when something really lines up like this, and this name is trying to take its next leg higher. Now, I did take a target in this one. Again, just being very, very methodical about what we're doing here, right? Nucor was a name that we put on last week. I think in Friday's video, I probably talked about that. I can't remember, but I probably did, right? Just talked about how there was some strength, right, in some of the steel names. STLD, I think had some news this morning too, right? This is a name that I also have on in the TTG trend portfolio. I have STLD on one portfolio and I have Nucor on in another, both acting well. ATKR actually had a good name, even though this isn't exactly a steel name, but this one took out a VPOC over here too. I don't own this one, just was on my radar for today. All right, and what else did I want to go over? Interesting. If you look at the performance, I was just talking about biotech. Healthcare did not have that type of a day. And if you notice what I did on Friday, was I just thought it got a little bit of extended. I was holding this XLV trade for a good few weeks, right? And I got out of this on Friday. I thought it was a little bit extended. So now I'll go back into healthcare because I don't think that the trend, if we look at this weekly chart in XLV healthcare trade, let it come in a little bit. This is a really nice breakout. Let it consolidate, comes in maybe just, another dollar. I'll probably be a buyer of this again, right? And the medical devices, right? That's another group that I've been talking a lot about. Didn't do much today, but that's okay. So far, I think it was actually declined a little bit today. Perfectly normal. Not every group is going to, outperform. Going back to these sectors, if you notice what underperformed a little bit was the XLC. I tweeted this chart out over the weekend, right? How this has taken out several VPOCs, right? And is probably due for some digestion, right? Take a look at that on the weekly chart. That's a big VPOC to be taken out. So again, the two big components in XLC are Google, which we know got into a little bit of trouble with their AI situation, and Meta. So I think it's really healthy if it doesn't have to be all of, whatever they call them, the Magnificent Seven. I think it's really good for these things to be kind of chilling out, right? And other areas of the market starting to pick up, right? We've talked about industrials, financials, right? Healthcare, right? And other things like the materials started to really work as well. So it's really, a good market to be around. Now, of course, that could change on us, and we want to continue to monitor. At some point, we're going to get more of a pullback. I think everybody knows that at this point. But there is some good-looking stuff that's out there, and to me, it's a much better situation than only a few stocks that everybody has all those attention on, and let the media continue to do what they do and talk about, oh my God, it's only the Magnificent Seven. They're not doing the analysis. They're not doing the research. We're doing it here and we're finding the trades. So very happy about that. Let me talk a little bit about the indices. And by the way, a couple other names too that reported after the close. Like look at what Trex is doing, right? So, I've liked these flooring companies. They've acted very well. Companies that are, if there's this argument right now that people are not buying new houses. Well, they're certainly maintaining them. And the flooring companies have been on fire. So Trex just reported good earnings, right? This is after AZEK, which I got back into last week, right? Now I did take a profit target at this VPOC, but perhaps the strength can get through here. One other company too is MHK, which might be setting up here too. Notice how this is just sitting at the top of value. All right. So I'm going to move on and I'll talk a little bit about the indices, right? So S&P futures, right? There's not much, on this daily chart, right? And I've talked about this a couple times, but there's not much to be that critical about, right? With the S&P futures, we're above all the short-term moving averages. If you want a closer view, you could look and see if you can get a clue off of, what might be shorter-term price action. Notice what's going on here on the 1-hour chart. Right. This is something that I pointed out pre-market to members as well as on my Substack, is that you might have the making of a little bit of a head and shoulders pattern here, right? Left shoulder, head, right shoulders. So again, you're not going to see that on the daily chart. That's why I do go to the 1-hour chart, because I am trading in the short term as well, right? Not just longer term swing trades, right? And I think that we could see a check back to the top of value. Now, when I pointed this out on Twitter earlier, it was a little bit more than 0.5%, but the good thing is we don't have far to go to support. So I would be interested to see if we have a little bit more weakness overnight, what we do at that top of value, which is 5066, right? Now, if we break that, right, then the next thing I would be watching is this line that's coming in here, which is the 200 paired moving average. We often find some support there if that's broken. So it's good to kind of map this out a little bit and realize where there's support using volume at price and also using a moving average, right? And again, what looks different today was what IWM did today. Right, a little bit stronger. Notice it didn't really pull back there at the end of the day, lost a little bit of its momentum. Again, and you're going to need a little bit stronger breath to kind of confirm this too. So we'll see if that materializes. But I think at the very least, you could shoot for this 202.77 VPOC, which is about 1% up. Right. And keep in mind, right, I'm not making any claims here about IWM because it's been very, very sideways. So yes, I would be taking some, if I was long, which I'm not right now, IWM, I would be taking a healthy profit target at that version point of control there, because that's how the small caps have been trading. Right. That's it for today's video. Like, I was, of course, like I put on the watch list, like I put on NVIDIA just to kind of watch some of these names. It's important to kind of keep an eye on some of these names. Here's our watch list, and I think I have NVIDIA on here. I said, good to keep it. So I'm repeating myself. Good to keep an eye on. I want to see it digest, consolidate, let all that hot money kind of, wash away a little bit. Right. And some of the other names too. That's actually a good thing, right? Some people just want things to continue to go up and up and up, right? If you've been doing this for a while, you want to see some consolidation and backing and filling, right? So let this kind of back and fill a little bit, right? That's my thought on that one. Guys, have a great night. See you tomorrow.